So a couple weeks ago, I made a video on the Friends of Ringo Ishikawa and why everyone should love it. But if you missed that video, Ringo Ishikawa is about a Japanese delinquent going through his last year of high school, and since I love the delinquent genre, I said, and if you want any recommendations, feel free to let me know. I could even do a video on it. Fast forward to now, and some people, if sum equals one, wanted a video of my recommendations, so I thought I would go ahead and do it. So here's my top 5 delinquent mangas. This top 5 may be a little different than the others because the top 5 won't be my favorites in order. This top 5 is actually inspired by the channel Cinefix, where instead of a definitive list of the best whatever, they pick 5 different sections of their topic and pick their favorite in each one. So that's what I'll do here. Talk about 5 different types of delinquent mangas and choose my favorite from each. Without further ado, here are my top 5 best delinquent mangas of all time. Starting with number 5, the first thing we think of when we hear Japanese delinquents is fighting. No matter what kind of story you're trying to tell in the realm of delinquents, if it doesn't have some form of fighting in it, is it really a part of the delinquent genre? Whether it's having really wild fighting like in high school, where it just turns to full-on brawls with a lot of people, or having a bigger focus on the one-on-one aspect of fighting as seen as something like Sugarless, fighting is fighting. Fighting is as fighting does, and it really is up to the mangaka to decide how much of the manga he wants to dedicate to it. As in, do they want to get into the nitty-gritty of fighting like Clover, or making it as general as punching and kicking akin to something like Bebop High School? For this reason, I have to give the number 5 pick to Holy Land, and don't let the art style throw you off. Okay, right off the bat you may be like, dude, is Holy Land even a delinquent manga? And let's not even get into semantics like that. Even though there aren't any banchos in it and the characters are rarely seen in school, this is very much about delinquents and their life between the world of adults and kids, the Holy Land if you will. A story about a shut-in who learns to fight to survive against his bullies. It really grew into an amazing piece of work. No other manga in this genre had me as hyped for a fight as Holy Land did, and with the many fighting styles on display, you can really see how much of a passion Mori has for the schools of fighting. I mean, how many mangas have narrations that are just dedicated to explaining the fighting? That's dedication. The delinquent genre has been around for a while, and that means that a formula starts to develop. Read a good amount and it starts to show itself. You got your lovable main characters who meet the villain / rival of the arc, and after some sort of run-in with said rival, they start to prep for the fight in one way or the other. And of course it all culminates into a climax of fighting. So I'm giving the number 4 spot to the manga that I feel is both defined by the formula and excels despite it, Clover. And no, I'm not talking about that one Clamp manga. In Clover, basically every arc follows that same setup, and when you're going by that formula, it's easier to put your attention somewhere else. By that I mean the characters. One of the main reasons I love Clover so much is because the levels of growth you witness from all the characters within the span of the manga is actually really wonderful to see, except for Erina. And not only do you get to see how they grow, the manga provides complete pictures for many of the characters by showing you the reasons the characters start off the way they do when they're first introduced. So even though this manga follows the formula through and through to the end, it is able to push beyond that to create a story that, while possibly tiring, sticks in your mind long after you finish reading it. You know what you have when you're a delinquent? Hot-blooded spirit. And you know, despite popular belief, there are better ways to apply all that energy and passion than fighting. Crazy, I know. So what we have here is when some of these crazy delinquents put their energy into sports. Sports. The most productive use of that fighting competitive spirit. Think about it. Even in sports mangas that aren't explicitly about delinquents, they are still a delinquent-ish character. That's because there's always that one character who learns there's more to it all than fighting. You know, unless you go into something like boxing or a form of martial arts like Rainbow. Usually in these types of stories, you'll have one person go into a sport for varying reasons, whether it's not to be looked down upon from a rival, like in lawn golf, or to impress a girl, like in Slam Dunk. Sometimes though, it's the whole group of delinquents who basically hold a club hostage, and it's up to someone to reform them, like in Angel Voice. So with that said, the first of the 2 mangas that tied for the number 3 spot is Rookies. Now, I said tied, and that's because I was mulling over which one to pick because they are by the same guy, and I thought they both deserved to be in the spot. So the 2 number 3 spots are going to Rookies and Rokudenashi Blues. Both are about becoming more than what you are and doing all you can to take hold of your dreams, no matter how much of a stretch it may seem. They take the time to actually learn the sport and appreciate it even more, which is more prominent in rookies, while also letting their delinquent roots come out and threaten things for a while, which Rokudenashi Blues tends to do. While their focuses may be different, they both share a passion for the sport and both have lovable and well-developed characters that we can't help but root for, despite the delinquency, and that's why they're in the number 3 spot. So, if you did see the Ringo Ishikawa video, you would know how dramatic the story was and how existential things were. And surprisingly, the dramatic sides of things aren't seen too often in this genre, instead opting for a more comedic route. But when a manga focuses on the serious side, things can get interesting. So what would be a big theme of a dramatic delinquent manga? I can think of 2. The dreaded sense of what to do in life, which once again I talked about extensively in that Ringo video, and consequence. I mean serious consequences. Sure, there are consequences in a lot of these mangas. Holy Land has characters in the hospital and comas, and even then it's not for that long. No, I'm looking at things like Rainbow, which starts them off in jail for what they did. Shoot, Banana Fish straight up has a death in it, and Shamo, well, we don't need to dive into Shamo. Maybe another video, but I know I'm tiptoeing the line in the sand here, but these two have some good arguments for being in the delinquent genre. Plus, they're pretty good reads, so, you know. Anyway, those are great and all, but they don't quite make it to the number 2 spot. Which goes to Bakuan Redo. Sure, it hasn't been fully translated and I don't even think it's finished yet, but that hasn't stopped me from making sweeping generalizations and bold statements before. And honestly, what we have so far has been amazing. It's about an aimless kid who moves to a new school after being kicked out of his old one and finds a passion for bikes and biker gangs. From that, we have a well done story about a kid trying to find something out of life and the decisions he makes along the way. And remember how I said a big prevailing theme is consequences? Well, he has to live with his decisions, no matter what they end up resulting in. I've never read a manga in this genre so devoid of comedy. Like, I'm always tense reading this because there's always this feeling of, man, how are things gonna go to shit this time? Also, just look at the art. It adds to the grittiness of it all. It creates this sort of unease to it. I'm not some kind of art analyst, but something about MC and some of the characters not looking human at times has to mean something. Before I go into the number 1 pick, I thought I'd give out some honorable mentions. First of all, anything that I've talked about in this video is definitely something you should take a look at, because they're all still good in my opinion. Next we have the delinquent teacher genre. Whether it's about former delinquents teaching students like Rookie or GTO, or just teaching delinquent students like in Gokusen or Common Teacher, I enjoy them all because being a teacher is hard. Add in delinquents and it gets even more ridiculous. On the topic of GTO, if you haven't checked out the prequel, which harkens back to the Onizuka days, I would recommend it. And last for the honorable mentions, the parody, where comedy takes the situation of a delinquent and makes it funny, parody takes the genre and pokes fun at it, makes it absurd. The most notable one being Cromartie High, always a favorite needing no explanation, and Congo Bancho, which I think was one of my first forays into the genre. Like, just look at it, everything about it is absurd, and of course you have the straight man, woman who helps you see some of the dumber things. It's good fun and it really shows off the, how do you say, war the delinquents feel like they're in, but in an absurd way. Side note, if the art looks familiar, it's because the mangaka went on to do Nanatsu no Taizai. So I think you could easily see this one coming. I can't talk about the drama without talking about the comedy, because while you could pull the emotions out of the plight of a wayward kid doing the only thing they know how to, you can easily pull the comedy out of dumb violent school kids. A lot of delinquent comedies use the look of a delinquent to drive home the joke, especially if it's in a way that gives the character a bad rap, a la Angel Densetsu. Add that to the attitude of delinquents and a lot of the time they get put in very interesting situations, like getting isekai'd into a fantasy world where you use a diamond crowbar and you're the most powerful magician but you don't realize it. Anyway, the general delinquency of delinquent somehow is really funny to me, so I've read a lot of it. It's probably the easiest thing to add to a story, which is why if you look at most delinquent mangas, there will be a comedy tag on it somewhere. Don't fact check me on that, please. With all that said though, there's one manga that stands out above the rest, and taking that number 1 spot, we have Kyokara Oriwa. What you have here is a tale of 2 guys who decide that they want to change their image and become delinquents. This is a really funny manga, perhaps the one that I've laughed at the most. Everything about the comedy in this is great. The blatant disregard for anyone's well-being, the downright scummy fighting and scummy behavior in general, and just the way the two main characters are complete opposites yet still are best bros. And it doesn't just rely on being funny. An important part of comedy is creating depth and characters, which Kiyokara manages to do even as the cast starts to expand. Add in some entertaining arcs and some comedic art. I mean that in the nicest way possible. It can be very expressive and help sell the joke at times. And you have the clear pick for number 1. So what do you think of the list? Wildly different from yours? Is there anything we left out? Let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.